All right, let's dive into an explainer that on the surface seems like just a charming little family dinner anecdote. But honestly, when you really look at it, it totally transforms into a masterclass on community logistics, problem solving, and a frankly hilarious truth about human behavior. I absolutely love breaking down stories like this because they take these super relatable everyday situations and reveal the hidden mechanics of how we interact with each other. So let's just get right into what actually happens when rock-solid hospitality collides with a massive logistical nightmare.
Okay, picture this. I want you to put yourself in Mama's shoes for a second. Try to imagine this sheer unfiltered panic. It's a totally normal day, Papa gets home from work, and he just casually drops a bombshell. He says his team really loves the lunches Mama packs for him, so much so that he's gone ahead and invited all 10 of them over for dinner this coming Saturday. Oh, and by the way, all 10 have already confirmed. Yep. He just volunteered his entire household for a massive undertaking without giving a single heads up.
So that brings us right to our inciting incident, the dinner party dilemma.
Facing this super sudden event, Mama immediately points out a totally valid concern. She tells Papa that, hey, she really should have been asked first, because as she puts it, they simply do not have the wherewithal to cook for that many people. It's that classic conflict, right? The desire to be welcoming versus the very real boundaries of time, energy, and, well, kitchen space. Let's actually look at what Mama is up against here. The number 21, how on earth do we get there? Well, Mama smartly starts asking some questions and calculates the real head count. You've got Papa's 10 coworkers. Out of those 10, 8 are married. So boom, that's 18 guests right there. Add Papa, Mama, and their 8-year-old son Rohan, and suddenly you have 21 mouths to feed on a Saturday night. The tension here is just incredibly relatable. Feeding a family of 3 is a routine. Feeding 21 people is literally a full-scale catering operation.
And this perfectly illustrates the clash of approaches when you're faced with a sudden, overwhelming task. Papa offers what seems like an easy out, right? He says, well, we will order from outside then. But Mama has a firm principle, a line in the sand she will not cross. Her rule is simple: not in my home. I am fine with going out to eat, but if people are invited to our home, I will cook for them. She straight up refuses to compromise her standards of hospitality, which means they are now officially stuck between an impossible task and an unyielding family rule. Which leads us to part 2, a child's brilliant idea.
Now, what's really fascinating here is how the ultimate solution to this incredibly complex adult problem comes from the absolute youngest person in the room. This is where 8-year-old Rohan steps in and just completely flips the trajectory of the weekend. Listen to this quote from Rohan. He chimes in just talking about his own daily life. He innocently observes, "We also share our tiffins. Suman's mother always sends enough food for 3. I eat it often. Suman also eats my tiffin." He is just talking about his school lunchbox dynamics, pointing out how kids naturally pool their resources so everyone gets to try different things and nobody goes hungry. It's such a pure, simple observation. But for Mama, this innocent comment is the exact spark of inspiration she needs.
Enter part 3, the potluck solution.
So, Mama takes Rohan's schoolyard concept of sharing lunches and just weaponizes it to save her weekend. She decides to turn this impossible dinner party into a potluck. But the crucial point here is how flawlessly she executes this strategy. She doesn't just casually ask people to bring food, she organizes it with absolute military precision. She follows 3 specific steps. First, she gets all their numbers and creates a messaging group. Second, she spends the week interacting with everyone to learn their personal food preferences. And third, she coordinates everything to ensure there are 0 overlaps in the dishes. Her logic is brilliant. This way, no single person is overburdened and everyone gets a chance to share their own unique recipes. She successfully distributes the load.
And the result? Total, unmitigated logistical victory. The party was a massive success. All 21 people attended. Thanks to Mama's incredible coordination, the feast was perfectly balanced, absolutely no overlaps. And beautifully, because everyone was truly invested in the shared meal, the guests actually stayed late to help clean up and do the dishes. What started out as a literal nightmare scenario was completely solved by community sharing and super clear communication.
But wait, the story's not over. We have to talk about the vanishing Malpuas.
Right when you think Mama has totally mastered human organization, the realities of human nature come crashing back in, and it happens right at dessert time. To understand what goes wrong here, we need to look at a concept that's often used in behavioral economics: stated versus revealed preferences.
Basically, this is the hilarious and sometimes super frustrating contrast between what people confidently claim they are going to do and how they actually behave when the moment arrives. Keep this in mind because it perfectly frames the disaster that is about to unfold for poor little Rohan.
Okay, let's look at Mama's math for a second. She made exactly 45 Malpuas, which, if you don't know, is this incredibly delicious, sweet, fried dessert. Her calculation was totally logical. There are 21 people. She assumed everyone, including Rohan, would eat 2 of them. 21 times 2 is 42, plus a few extras just in case, brings us to exactly 45. It's a perfectly reasonable, totally data-driven assumption.
And why was Mama so confident in her math? Well, because of the stated preferences from the group chat. In the days leading up to the party, most of the messages in the group confirmed that people were getting really conscious about what they eat. They actively stated they were staying away from sweets and trying to have less sugary foods. So according to the actual data Mama collected, a dessert allowance of 2 per person was more than generous for such a quote-unquote health-conscious crowd.
And yet, here is the absolute punchline: 0. When it was finally time for dessert, Rohan was given the very important job of distributing the Malpuas. After walking around the gathering and serving all of these supposedly health-conscious adults, Rohan looked down at the tray and realized there were exactly 0 left for him. Literally, none.
So Rohan walks right up to Mama right in the middle of the gathering and just reveals the hard truth about revealed preferences. He says, "There is no Malpua left for me, Mom. Some ate more than 2. All those diets, all those firm stated preferences in the group chat, they completely evaporated the second free delicious dessert was placed in front of them. Human appetite and greed absolutely destroyed Mama's careful calculations. And the adults? They just had a huge laugh at Rohan's total helplessness."
So, let's wrap this up with the sweet takeaway.
What does this hilarious family case study actually teach us about how we organize and how we genuinely behave? The lessons here are incredibly practical. First, when you're faced with an overwhelming task, you've got to share the load. The potluck model works. Second, coordinate your communication. Mama's success wasn't just about asking for help, it was managing the details so nothing overlapped. Third, and honestly, perhaps most importantly, never, ever underestimate human appetite when faced with free dessert. People will abandon their stated goals in a heartbeat for a good Malpua. And finally, justice for Rohan, right? Thankfully, Mama promised to make him 10 Malpuas the very next day to make up for the adults' greed.
I want to leave you with this to chew on. When it comes to your own habits, does your group chat actually match your plate? Are your stated preferences aligning with your revealed preferences, or are you secretly the one eating way more than 2 Malpuas when nobody is checking the math? Think about that the next time you RSVP to a potluck.